Hey guys, this is Solution PODFIC, and today we're going to be reading in Technicolor by Danique. This is Chapter 12. It started with a t-shirt. It showed up on Amazon and Brett left far too long before ignoring it and buying a new HDMI cable. His mom was insistent that the Nelsons would have one of these at the store, but Brett had once watched Fox explain to his dad in 4 different ways what's the difference between hardware and software. If Edward Nelson had purchased an HDMI cable for the store over the last month or so, it could only be by mistake. He left the computer at that. Sasha came to pound on his door wearing said shirt and demanding that he introduce her to fucking Spiderman already. She'd brought friends this time. God, he was a cop, for crying out loud. These kids were supposed to be afraid of him. He went downstairs and snapped the door open between her knocks so fast that she had screamed and leapt away, then called him a jerk. "Brett, you have to," she informed him. The kids around her went awkward and refused to make eye contact. "We got his shirt. We're basically friends now." "Right, because that's how that worked." "No," he told her, and slammed the door. "Brett!" she shrieked on the other side. "I'm telling Nana Bess." "Fine, tell her. See if he cared." Goldberg walked into the station to drop off some paperwork, and the whole place went quiet and still. Maynard's mouth fell open, and her grip on her thermos went dangerously slack. Ellen's face over her clipboard went drawn tight, and Captain stopped talking to Brewer and started to turn purple. Goldberg finally realized that no one was fucking talking, including Brandy at reception across from him, and looked around. "What did I do?" he asked, because by then it was basically guaranteed that he'd done something wrong. It was just a matter of what. "What the fuck is that?" Maynard barked, jabbing a finger at his chest, at the abdomen of the spider stretching its legs up and down the guy's front. "Ah," Brewer said. "My roommate got it for me as a joke, and then broke our damn washer last night, so I had to take all my shit to the laundromat. This is all I got that ain't a uniform right now. Yeah, a joke. Real funny." The captain made a strangled noise behind his teeth and stormed off to slam his office door closed behind him. Besides the fact that that kind of shit was just going to encourage the local vigilantes, the captain and Peter had developed a complex relationship. Brett might even go as far as to say that the captain was jealous that Peter liked Brett and Maynard and flat out refused to work with, talk to, or accept bribes from anyone else, including you-know-who. It didn't help that Peter had started to occasionally go out of his way to find Brett and Maynard these days to alert them of something going afoul in the city, which he either didn't want to deal with or didn't have time to deal with. Naturally, he demanded payment for these tips, which was how Brett discovered that tips could be purchased for lollipops, the Dum Dum brand specifically. He tried Tootsie Roll Pops once and had been met with disgust and betrayal, and more importantly, a drop-off in the number of tips being brought to his attention over the next 2 weeks. So, Dum-Dums it was. He had a whole bag of them in his car now because this was his fucking life. Although, that being said, they did come in handy for scared kids, and for, oddly enough, getting Jessica Jones to cough up a few tidbits of info of her own. He made a note in the notebook to investigate favorite foods and sweets along the Nightfolk, for the purpose of softening future interactions. Then the notebook was confiscated by the captain for the first time, being so that all the information in it might be recorded in a non-shitty handwriting. Brett wondered if he'd ever be getting it back at this rate. Goldberg bared his teeth awkwardly and informed the room that he was just going to go now. It was the best thing for everyone. It was fine. Well, it was whatever. Until a load of shit went down with Matt, and then out of the blue, suddenly he had a shirt. It read, in giant white block letters on a red background, "I am not Daredevil." Matt had 3 printed for himself, one in red, of course, one in black with the words encased in a neat red triangle, and an inverse of the red one, so that he could wear it unobtrusively under his white collared court shirts, and bust it out, Superman style, for any lingering paparazzi trying to get in his face on the way back to his office. Matt was basically a model, what with his far too pretty face, far too toned abs and ass, and basically hipster glasses. And his antics all essentially amounted to free advertisement for Abel's printmaking around the corner. People in Hell's Kitchen fucking loved that shirt. Brett looked it up one day, and instead of all those damn Supreme logos, he was looking at the word Daredevil plastered across everyone's chest, including the kid sitting in front of him with a smashed nose and a missing tooth. trying to explain that he and his buddies weren't trespassing, sir. They were just trying to practice their parkour. Britt stared at the kid, then stared at his shirt, then back at the kid. He eventually got it. He was let off because they truly couldn't find anything on him or any of his other buddies besides a load of dumbass. And dumbass was, thankfully, not a malicious or illegal substance at this stage of the game. Otherwise, they'd have to run out of holding cells at the station. Brett drew the line at Wade's shirt, because that stuff was far, far too cute to represent all of Wade's Wadeness. Some folks, however, thought the logo was adorable and made a Spidey version of it. Some other folks would swap one of the half-moon sides of Wade's logo for a half of a Spidey version, and went along on their way, talking about how they just love those two. Weren't they cute together? No. No, they weren't. Wade was the worst influence. He taught Peter how to open bottles with his teeth. His teeth, for fuck's sake. That wasn't even bad vigilante shit. That was just bad for life shit. The kid had a chipped right canine now, but he was oh so proud of himself. He did his new trick for Brett and smiled at him beatifically before handing Brett a beer he was way too young to have purchased. Now, where could he have gotten that from, huh? 3 guesses. May trust them, man, what can I say? Foggy sighed. You can say that underage drinking is a crime, Brett pointed out reasonably. Foggs gave him a look flatter than Kansas. Dude. Shut up, I don't want to hear it, he countered. Dude, we drink so much. That was before I got a badge, Brett qualified. Yeah, and after you crammed a stick up your ass. Well, Foggs was in a mood. Probably had to do with the fact that his latest hobby included dragging his boyfriend out of fights with reporters. It'll pass, Brett tried to assure him. Foggy groaned and dropped his forehead onto the tile of the kitchen counter. Will it, though? He lamented. It'll pass. It didn't. Brett could not fucking believe that he'd gotten his ass woken up in the middle of the goddamn night by his childhood neighbor to come break up a fight in the middle of the goddamn street. When he got there, still in his pajamas since the journey of 2 blocks hardly warranted a drastic costume change, he was met with, not Daredevil, but Battling Jack's fucking kid laying the fuck into a guy who was becoming increasingly hell-bent on killing him. It was hard to decide who to arrest, especially because both of them were drunk as hell and screaming expletives at each other. Brett couldn't quite make out the whole situation because he was busy half laying on Matt, trying to calm him down enough so that he would remember that he was not wearing one of his ninja get-ups, and so needed to play poor defenseless blind man. But what he rapidly became aware of, while waiting for backup to get the other guy into control, was that for once Matt hadn't started it. His neighbor tried to explain over Matt's uncoordinated jerking and squirming that she had heard someone shouting really loudly outside her window and had peeked out to see Matt tapping his way home, swaying a bit. She called Brett when the other guy had grabbed a hold of the back of his shirt and started calling him names. Matt had, in his fairly intoxicated stupor, gotten a good hit onto the guy's shoulder and tried to meander away from there. But the other guy was bigger and drunk and persistent and had gotten a hold of him again. That's when the fight had really started. Tisha was terrified for her neighbor. So was most of the crowd which had gathered by the time Willis and Brewer got there to lay on the other guy. Brett tried to reason with Matt, who had moved rapidly through being drunk and aggressive as fuck to being drunk and sad and sick-looking. Brett knew. He just knew. If he put him in the car, he'd puke all over everything. Willis asked him what was the hold-up, and he sighed and grabbed a hold of Matt's shoulder. He startled and jerked his toe to lash out again. Hey, it's me. It's Brett, Brett said. Matt cocked his head a bit and made a confused sound. Senses must have been all jumbled up from the head smashing and liquor. Easy, man. You're drunk as hell. Some guy beat up on you. We gotta get to the station. Matt blinked at him. Glasses gone. Brett looked around but couldn't find them, or the cane for that matter. Man, be cool, he said, hoping that Matt understood. He guided him to the car and put a gentle hand on his head to keep him from smashing it against the roof. Matt was really feeling them extra shots, and was way off his game. The other guy in the altercation took his moment of weakness to call him a series of names unfit for polite, or, hell, public company. Matt lifted his head out of the trash can to wipe his mouth and shout a few back to the guy. Brett sighed. Willow shook his head and carried on with the paperwork. Matt grumbled something into the can, but Brett couldn't make it out over the retching. He figured that maybe, once he'd finally get some of that liquor out, he'd be sober enough to make words happen in a sentence. In the meantime, he called Foggy. The tragic irony of it all was that the screaming dickface informing the room of Matt's alleged sexuality was wearing one of those Daredevil shirts. He obviously had missed their whole backstory. Or maybe he hadn't. Maybe he'd seen Matt and gone up to him to talk about the shirt. But Matt had been at the fun point of intoxication where he didn't want to talk to anyone. He just wanted to find and cuddle Fogs or Karen or, honestly, whoever and whatever the hell you put in his hands. Matt was kind of a cute drunk. Brett could admit that much. Although it took a hell of a lot to get him there. Brett hoped that this other guy hadn't been within reach at the same time of meeting. That would make things complicated, even if it would certainly explain a lot. Willow sarcastically asked the guy if he was wearing the Daredevil shirt for the irony, and then the tables fucking turned like Brett's stomach. "What the fuck are you talking about?" The guy slurred. "I am Daredevil. And this fucking posers all over here trying to get in my good fucking name." What? Seriously, what? Matt made a curious sound and took a break in trying to pop his thumb out of its joint to escape the handcuffs Brett had put on him to keep him trapped to the desk. He didn't want to put him in the cell, as he was, without his cane and disoriented, but he also could not be trusted to wander off on his own in that very same state. "You're Daredevil," Willis repeated incredulously. "Is that a fact, man, or are you talking out of your ass?" "Fucking yeah, I'm Daredevil," the belligerent shithead snarled. "What, you think some puny-ass motherfucker like him's got shit on me? Come here, motherfucker. We'll go. Let's go. Can take your ass lying down." Brett thought that pointing out that taking a blind guy in a fight wasn't exactly a show of physical prowess was not a move to be appreciated at the present time. Matt, though, bless his heart, took that one hard. "The fuck are you saying?" He slid in the guy's direction. "You ain't need eyes to catch your ugly mug, pal. It's a pretty fucking wide target. Come here, you little shit." Jesus Christ, this is all so unnecessary. "I'm Daredevil, you hear me?" The guy ran. "Me, not you." "Alright, fucking have him, asshole. See if I care," Matt roared back. There was a pause. The guy in the cell frowned, evidently confused at having been given his way so easily. Matt scoffed at him and folded his arms across the edge of the desk. He dropped his head into them and scoffed again. Brett could have sworn he heard him mumbling something, but decided not to engage. They had bigger problems on their hands. Matt was asleep by the time Fogs got to the station to pick him up, and Brett and Willis were shaking their head because by then the captain had been there for 15 minutes too. He couldn't exactly not be. They had a moron claiming that he was Daredevil in their custody, and now they were going to have to investigate him at 3 o'clock in the damn morning. This was madness. Daredevil was right behind them, sneezing and drooling adorably on his arm while slowly slipping off the corner of Brett's goddamn desk. Investigating this other guy could not be a greater waste of time or resources. The captain knew this. The captain was still beyond convinced that Sneezy over there was the real Daredevil. But he'd already bungled his chance to sort that out, so now he was faced with this shit. Matt fell off the desk and wrung his hand right before Foggy got there. The captain sighed like he was staring into a bottomless well of hopelessness. "Sir, we need you to really think about what you're saying." He tried to reason with their new angry friend. "This is a very serious allegation. That guy over there, he thinks he's Daredevil. You know that?" Friend Andrews informed them. Brett had found Friend Andrews' wallet, which had bestowed upon them his good name and $13 in ones. The captain looked over his shoulder at Matt, who Fox had managed to wake up and was presentedly trying to talk some sense into. It wasn't working. Matt had finally been reunited with his optimal hugging target. The only thing holding him back was the handcuff. But he wasn't about to let that stop him. He didn't look very Daredevil-like. "Sir, that was a story run by the press," the captain said carefully. "Mr. Murdoch had denied those allegations. He does not claim to be—" "Me! I'm Daredevil! Me!" Friend Andrews informed them at a max volume. That guy, I'm gonna put him down. Let me tell you that." God, way to find the exact wrong thing to say. "Mr. Andrews, are you suggesting that you wish to cause Mr. Murdoch bodily harm?" The captain groaned, rubbing his eyes in exhaustion. "Yeah, I fucking am." Andrew said. Is that why you jumped him? The captain asked. No, you ain't listening. I jumped him 'cause I'm Daredevil. Yep, totally. Mr. Andrews, here's what I need you to do, son. The captain negotiated. For everyone's benefit right now, I need you to drink that water over there and sit down for a minute, alright? You don't know what you're saying. No, I do, Andrews insisted. He yanked his shirt forward so that he, as well as the 3 other officers in front of him, could read it. Here, says I'm Daredevil, right here. Ah, no. Nice try, though. There's a big knot you're missing there, buddy. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and call this one drunk and disorderly for now, the captain decided. Mr. Murdoch, are you... No. Whatever the captain thought he might have been, he wasn't. Fox had done his best, though, and gotten him more or less back into the chair. Witness says it was self-defense, Brett told the captain from his left side. Matt nuzzled into Foggy's neck and made soft, happy noises. Fox tried to convince him that this would be easier if he unfolded the leg he twisted under himself. No dice. Could not possibly compromise prolonged contact for comfort. He's too drunk right now to be making decisions on his own right, Brett added. Not to mention blind, sir. He didn't know what was coming. The captain sighed even harder. Just take him home, Mr. Nelson, he said. Brett prayed to every god that he could find a shrine to, that would be a one-off case. Clothes did not always make the man. He wanted to scream from the mountaintops. Wearing a Daredevil shirt or a Spidey belt buckle or a Hawkeye undies does not, in fact, make you that person. It just does not. Brett understood inspiration. He understood admiration. He understood wearing a hat or a shirt, too, as some kind of statement or group solidarity thing. But people, he could not stress enough, were so fucking stupid. They struggled to distinguish what it meant to look like a superperson and to actually be that superperson. Case in point, someone had posted a video of Cap ripping a log in half with his bare hands on Instagram, and now Brett was reading an article in The Times informing the city at large on behalf of Metrogen that this was not an activity normal people should be attempting to perform for a myriad of reasons. Unsurprisingly, the folks trying this new challenge all strapped on their Captain America gear before turning on the camera. Before this, there had been a brief trend of idiots trying to strangle each other with their thighs like the Black Widow. Brett didn't know if it was a meme or a sex thing, but it had gotten to the point where he had a whole pile of battery claims sitting on his desk. Exhausting. The whole thing was exhausting, and it only got worse. Friday night saw 3 guys in the holding cell fighting over who had the best Spidey shirt and pretending to shoot webs at each other. Saturday night, a murder by a freak literally obsessed with Daredevil. He was taken into custody and argued that he had allegedly had a breakdown over his schizophrenia, which had caused this whole chain of events. He didn't even have schizophrenia. That was what people thought Wilson had, and because Brett's life was horrible, he had to go knock on Wade Wilson's apartment door and ask him if he had an associate and maybe also schizophrenia. Wilson, sans mask, and draped with cat, blinked at him and then slammed the door. What the fuck is wrong with the world? Brett heard him ask the cat through the open window. It took some serious pleading and promising to convince him that A, he did not have to pack up and move now that the police knew where he lived, and B, that all he had to do was say no to both allegations. He said no. He demanded to know where Brett got his address. At gunpoint. He then lamented the fact that he had gotten insurance for his new scooter before getting a damn ticket for parking it illegally. He didn't even have it anymore, he told Brett. Shit got totaled, and he really didn't want it anyway. Brett left with his life at least, although he wasn't convinced he left with the whole of his sanity. Brett cupped his face in his hands and counted to 10 so that he could deal with the gang of 3 sitting handcuffed on the curb in front of him. They didn't say anything, but they had the grace to look at each other a little sheepishly. Have you guys even seen Spiderman? Brett finally breathed. The Spider-Man in front of him lit up. Yeah, I look in the mirror every day, he proclaimed. Brett needed another 10 count. Then you know, he said slowly, that Spider-Man is approximately the size of an ant. Silence. Dude, are you calling me I'm saying you're not Spider-Man, Brett snarled before the idiot could finish his sentence. You are not Spider-Man. You know how I know? Because I know Spider-Man. He is this big, you see? This big. You, my friend, are this big. Do you see this? This is at least a foot here. Furthermore, I cannot catch Spider-Man. I have tried to catch Spider-Man. Spider-Man has fucking hugged me, and I cannot catch Spider-Man. It took me 2 minutes to catch you. Do you understand? Do you see this, man? This is how I know, beyond a reasonable doubt, that you are not Spider-Man. Silence. The guy's lips stuck out defiantly under the edge of the mask he'd pulled up to his nose. I got the suit, he said firmly. And you don't know who's under the suit, so... Brett yanked the mask off the rest of the way and leaned into the guy's face. He swallowed anxiously. Brett raised an eyebrow at him. Looks like I do now, he said. He then rounded on the Daredevil and Deadpool squirming next to their buddy. You guys want to play ball or no? He asked. Funny how now they did. Wade and Matt would be disgraced. Peter showed up a few days later on the hunt for a dum-dum and willing to part with information for it. But Brett needed him for something entirely different this time. He placed his hands on the kid's shoulder. Peter gazed up at him through the mask. It kept his face blank, but Brett knew him well enough by that point to recognize confusion on it. Peter, he said, I need you to do me a huge favor. I will give you a whole bag of dum-dums and some gummy bears. Peter made a Twitter account. A fuckload of other vigilante Twitter accounts cropped up in his wake. Everyone's usernames were just jumbles of letters, but they all had one thing in common, and that was a crazy, impossible selfie or video. Peter posted a short, oddly artistic video which started out focused on the night city skyline. It was cut in half by shadows of a rooftop, wet and lit by streetlights. Peter then lowered the camera to see his opposite hand. He flicked his suit-covered fingers, and something sprayed out a line of web from his wrist. He raised the camera so it could see where the line had stuck. And then it looked like he had just flown over the city and disappeared. And then he started running, barreling towards the edge of the roof. His shadow showed him looping while holding his phone in his left hand. He jumped. The camera held remarkably steady as it traced its descent, showing his little red feet flexing out over the blur of the city lights. The lights blurred more, and then went from going down, 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 to moving up and up and up, until Peter reached the crest of his arc. Then, in a flash, the camera spun around so that it showed Peter's mask. He made one of his suit eyes wink, and then threw out another line of web at the last possible second. It was pretty damn terrifying to old people like Brett who fucking hated roller coasters. It was also pretty damn terrifying to half the station team who knew intimately that Peter played games of Fate with Freefall every night he went out. But Peter ended the video with a freeze frame and a bar at the bottom which read, "Stop trying this at home, please. People are getting hurt." And somehow the whole video felt a whole lot gentler. People on Twitter went wild. They tried to figure out if it was green screen or faked, but then Peter's random assortment of letters started answering people back. No, it was made last wed, he wrote. I make the web myself. There is not a safe alternative on the market. You can try, but man, let me tell you, it's gonna be a long fall. Falling without knowing how to land can actually break your knees, and if you're really not careful, can permanently paralyze your friends. Please stop doing this. Even super people make fun of the whole superhero landing. It's cool if you want to run around in a Spider-Man onesie. Just know that if you go around claiming to be me, you've got like 100+ counts of assault which people could hold against you. And trust me on this one, they will press charges. It was a beautiful, beautiful thing, Twitter was, when it was used as a force of good. Or, something like that. Wade posted a picture of himself chilling with his cat in the living room surrounded by ammunition and bags of what was 100% cocaine. He captioned it, "Can y'all stop using me as an excuse to mutilate pets? Deadpool is a friend of animals and not your fucking excuse to be a sociopath. Hashtag, kill people, not pets." Wade got thousands upon thousands of followers within mere hours. Jessica Jones said that the next person who ran around pretending to be her was now responsible for her taxes. She reminded everyone that they were small business taxes and ergo Satan's worst nightmare. Trish Walker retweeted the post with the cute little note. Heart. Love you, girl. I told you we could just hire a guy. I got a calculator and a bottle of Jack. I don't need no man. Jez wrote back. Jessica Jones got several thousand followers as well. And they kept cropping up. More and more of them. Other super folks on Twitter started retweeting their pithy little slogans. Barnes retweeted Peters and wrote, Whoa, talk about calling the cavalry. We got the night crew on Twitter now too? Peter replied with an image of Barnes smoking on his couch, typing out the text on his phone. You little shit. I'ma find your ass, Spidey, Barnes replied. And from there, it appeared that legitimacy was established. And more importantly, the city had been warned. If people were going to scour the internet for the latest superhero merch, then it was only fair that their heroes showed them how fucking insane they actually were. Would it prevent those who are really determined to be shitheads? No. But it would discourage a lot of potential shitheads before they even got started. Or at least Brett hoped it would. Alright guys, now it's the end of chapter 12 of In Technicolor by Danique. I'll be as active as the next chapter.